Have you ever stopped to really question what you see online? I mean, truly question it? We're about to dive into a change in technology that's so big, it might just change how you see, well, everything.
What if those incredible photographs, the ones that stop your scroll, or the video clips that seem so raw and real? What if they weren't just faked, or photoshopped, or tweaked a little bit?
But we're actually entirely new realities, dreamed into existence by an AI, cooked up from absolutely nothing at all?
You see, for a while now, we've all been worried about deepfakes, swapping a face onto someone else's body. But that was just the warm-up act. We've moved way beyond that. This is phase 2.
Right. We're now officially moving beyond just faking things. We're in a world where AI is literally inventing reality from the ground up. It's not about copying what's already there anymore. It's about generating what could be there.
And the scale of this stuff is just mind-blowing. We're talking about hyper-realistic landscapes that you'd swear were taken by a professional photographer. We're talking about bustling city streets jam-packed with people who were never even born. It can even create war footage, convincing, chaotic war footage without a single soldier ever setting foot on a battlefield. It can manufacture evidence for an event that simply never, ever happened. And that right there, that's the heart of the problem we're facing now. The basic trust we've always had in our own eyes, the idea that what you see is what's real, that contract has been broken.
So you're probably wondering, how is that even possible, right? How can a machine just invent a world out of thin air? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the architects of this new perception.
So the key technology here is something called a diffusion model. The idea behind it is actually kind of beautiful in a way. Just imagine an AI that starts not with a picture, but with a screen full of pure chaos, just random static digital noise.
Let me walk you through it. So first, it begins with that screen of pure noise, total randomness. Then you give it a guide, a simple text prompt like a realistic photo of a cat sleeping on a pile of books. The AI then starts to carefully, methodically chip away at that noise. And then, like a sculpture emerging from a block of marble, a brand new, totally synthesized image appears. It wasn't copied, it wasn't traced, it was born from chaos. Okay, and this is the really critical part to understand. These models aren't just mashing together pictures of cats they've seen before. No, they are learning the deep, underlying statistical patterns of our reality. It understands the concept of fur, the physics of how light hits a surface, the very idea of sleeping. And that's exactly why the results feel so unbelievably real, because, statistically speaking, they should exist.
And that, of course, brings us to the dangerous side of all this. Because when a machine can generate a perfectly plausible reality on command, what happens to the whole idea of proof?
Just think about that for a second. If any photo, any video, any piece of visual evidence can be created out of nothing, the very concept of using an image as proof, it just starts to fall apart.
That dramatic footage you see on the news, maybe from a protest or a war zone, could be real. Or it could have been generated in seconds.
How about video evidence in a court of law? Well, now the defense can just stand up and argue that it was synthesized. Suddenly, the most solid proof we have becomes deeply suspicious.
There's actually a name for this. Experts are calling it the post-truth visual era. It's a time where the one single shared reality that we used to be able to capture on camera now has to compete with a literal infinity of perfectly plausible AI-generated alternatives.
Now, I know this all sounds incredibly bleak, but we are not completely defenseless here. In fact, the same kinds of technology creating the problem can also be part of the solution. So let's talk about how we fight back.
The way we defend ourselves really falls into two camps. On the tech side, you've got people working on things like invisible watermarks to certify real photos, forensic AI that can sniff out the tiny tells of a generated image. But technology by itself is never going to be a silver bullet. The real firewall, the most important defense, is us. It's human. It's about developing our media literacy, sharpening our critical thinking, and embracing a kind of radical skepticism. And let me be really clear about this. Questioning what you see online, asking where it came from, demanding proof, that's not being paranoid anymore. In the world we're heading into, that's just a basic survival skill. So, where do we go from here? This isn't just about what each of us does individually. It's about our collective responsibility. How do we, as a society, navigate this crazy new frontier? Well, here's a potential game plan. First, we absolutely have to demand ethical guardrails are built into AI development from the start. Second, governments have to get smart and figure out how to regulate this reality-altering tech without stifling innovation. And third, like we've been saying, we all have to adapt. Our thinking and our habits have to evolve.
I think the biggest takeaway here is pretty profound. Reality is no longer this guaranteed, solid thing that we can all just agree on. From now on, it's something that has to be actively verified, debated, and ultimately negotiated.
So you see, we're way past the old question of, can AI fake reality? The answer is a clear and resounding yes. The real question we all have to face now is much more personal, and frankly, a lot scarier.
When our world is flooded with an endless stream of perfect, synthetic options, will we still have the skills, the instinct, and the critical eye to pick out the one thing that's actually true? That is the challenge of our time.